Peace to the family. All right, today I want to get into a subject in a series of videos that I plan on doing called What's the Grift? But first, let me give you the framework as espoused by Dr. Neely Fuller. Mr. Fuller, may rest in peace. He and Dr. Francis Cress Welsling was a double punch left and right combination that was on the scene late 80s, early 90s, and even before then. So here's the framework. Dr. Fuller talked about the United Code for Compensatory for victims of white supremacy racism. Okay, in that framework, he talked about the areas of people activity. And there are 9 areas of people activity plus 1, which was later added by Dr. Welsling, Dr. Francis Cress Welsling. Okay, so first we got war. We have politics, economics, education, sex, entertainment, labor, law, religion, and health. To keep it moving, let's set a foundation definition of grift. We're going to be talking about grifting and grifters. Okay? So, what is a grift? What is grifting? Grifting is engaging in petty or small-scale swindling to obtain money, property, illicitly, as in a confidence game, i.e., conning people or a con man. The difference between a grifter and a thief is that a grifter tricks you into giving he or she your money through lies, versus a thief who uses force. But this force is in the form of manipulation and charisma. All right, there's a few red flags when it comes to the tactics of cons people, or a con man, or a grifter. They generally come to you being friendly, establishing a rapport with you, courteous, charismatic, knowledgeable about a particular subject. Oftentimes now they seem to be jacks of all trades, right? It's like someone coming to you with a down and out story. They've had problems. They got evicted from their home. They're trying to build a school. All sorts of games and plugs. And with the advent of the internet and the advent of the World Wide Web and artificial intelligence, we get a lot more different faces of this same con game, right? The common names for a grifter or a con man, cheater, scammer, hustler, confidence man, hustler, and so forth. I also want to introduce into the conversation is what is the difference between a grifter and a cult leader. Grifters and cult leaders, they share similar traits, but different in subtle ways. Like, for example, a grifter is someone that really wants to come make a quick hit and run and get the money, get your property, and get gone. Say, for example, the object of the desire of the grifter is the grifter's outcome. Say, for example, nowadays you have people who manipulate a old law on the book of homesteading or squatters' rights. These people, they will come. You may have a vacant property, or your property may be, not in direct use. Say, for example, a person in the military may be deployed and they're not in their home at that particular moment. During their deployment, somebody will come into their home, set up residence, cut the locks, simple as getting mail coming to that house, and they set up residence in that person's house, and ultimately they try to steal the person's home based on a pre-existing law. So that's grifting and con together. But let's talk about cult leaders. A cult leader is somebody that seeks to control your life totally through a cult of personality or a fabricated ideology. That's been on the rise in the last few years in the black community. For example, there was this young guy named Elihi Joe Bishop, known as Nature Boy or Chief to his followers. He promoted a natural lifestyle, vegan diet, some metaphysical principles. He coupled this with living in exotic locations and a communal living. He had the people bring him all his money. He used the internet to get money, to sustain his lifestyle and the lifestyle of his followers. That was a cult. Yet and still, he used some common grifts, some things that were related to those 9 areas of people activity, which they're going to be a whole series on that I'm going to do. But he used religion. He used some religious and metaphysical principles to encapsulate those people that would later become his followers, right? But let's deal with the big grift and the big grifter. The grift is right in front of our eyes. And that would be none other than the sitting president of the United States. Much of his tactics can be traced back to con men of old, different deviant ideologies, such as Nazism and fascism, right? The first big grift that the current president used was to malign President Barack Obama in terms of his nationality and where he was born, which evolved into a whole movement known as the birthers, right? President Obama mother was an American citizen, and his father was on a student visa to study in the United States. And President Obama was the product of that union, which made him an American citizen by the rights of his mother, regardless if he was born in a foreign country or not, not born in a foreign country. Okay, so this was one of the first strange ideologies that the current president used. All right. So another tactic that the current president used was the whole notion of QAnon. QAnon basically started as what they would consider a LARP, which was a live action role-playing society of people who dressed up and they did all of these wild fantasies, much similar to a game known as Dungeons and Dragons, but this was real-time, live, adult people playing these games, and they began to believe in some fringe conspiracy theories, the notion of vaccinations, reptilians, sovereign citizens. There were a whole lot of things that were involved in that movement. And his big movement became known as MAGA, which was Make America Great Again. Make America Great Again existed before the current president, but was taken to the next level by this guy and his crew, right? Also, as a newer component to this group was the notion of Project 2025, which is a playbook that he's currently executing in his cabinet appointees, his cabinet positions, and basically a segment of the American government, the government of the United States, is under a cult-like persuasion, right? I'm going to say this, and it goes back to one of those 9 areas of people activity, and that being politics, right? The United States political system has generally been a system that was dominated by 2 large political parties known as the Democrats and the Republicans, right? There are other parties involved, but neither of these parties, let's say the Green Party, for example, or the Libertarian Party, for example, neither of these parties has ever had a critical mass as to all out win the presidential election. But if you go back to the early days of the United States politics, when the Whig Party was involved, you had maybe 3 parties that were contentious in terms of winning presidential elections. You've had a Workers' Party, you've had, even to a certain degree, you even had Communist Party involved in American politics, but not to a degree where they could control any type of critical mass as to gain full power in the American political system. But MAGA MAGA was kind of birthed out of maybe what would we say, the Tea Party, which was a group that was set on reforming the American political system to switch things back to states' rights, which now has transformed into a very right-wing but powerful party in the Republican Party. All right. Let me say this. The Democratic Party severely underperformed in last election cycle. All right. In terms of age, Joe Biden got 79% of black men's votes, while candidate Harris got 77% of black men's votes, as compared to 92% of black men voting for President Barack Obama and 82% voting for candidate Hillary Clinton, right? So, under today's fabric of politics, the current president has a current 44% approval rate, while 54% disapprove of his handling of the economy. 42% disagree with his handling of the cost of living, and 55% disagree with his handling of the cost of living. Earlier this week, and we're ending the week of March the 28th. Today is March the 28th. The end of the week, there was a scandal based on war plans being disseminated via a commercial messaging system known as Signal, which speaks to the quality of the candidates that the current president has installed in his cabinet. This is something that could have caused military men and women their lives, because the chain of command, it appears to have been usurped. And one thing that I did not mention is that the majority of the people do not approve of a certain billionaire, Elon Musk, being co-appointed president by the sitting president. And his rates, his approval rates are falling because of his association with this billionaire. Right. This is the big grift. Now, in this series that I'm dealing with, I'm going to go back to the African American community and deal with the grifts in the African American community. But I would be remiss if I did not first start with the big grift that's going on, right? Do your own research. Formulate your own opinion based on quality data. Data that you might get from the news, and try to reach primary sources of where you can get some of this information. I know the eyes may be the two biggest liars that you ever meet, but I'll tell you this. They're the windows to a person's soul, and it's a window to what you see in common society. Okay. So, like I always say, if you lived a day and haven't learned anything, you wasted a day that you can never get back. I hope that this video finds you in the best of life, strength, and health. If you gained anything from it, give me a like, consider subscribing, and consider sharing this video with your friends. With that, I say peace.